Hey, this is Websuspect, and I'm doing a podcast with Hatrick Penry.
And this is Hatrick Penry, and I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Websuspect, and talk about Fukishima or whatever's on your mind. You got my full attention.
Well, the article came out this week, and it was all the stuff we had talked about before the feud with Glenn from Nucors, which I guess we can talk about later. But they pretty much confirmed all the stuff that I talked about and you talked about privately last month. Did you see that? I think I put it on your Facebook page.
I have to go back and look. In fact, the whole Hell Wars thing, he sent me a message, and I'm like, I went to the beach, and then I purposefully tried not to turn my computer on for a couple of days. I really did, so whatever transpired on that whole thing, I came in late on that.
I went on a cruise, and that was really nice because they charge you like 1,000 times more for internet rates, so I just turned my phone off except when I was in port.
All I can say is, as far as the whole thing on YouTube, people just continue to be very suspicious and skeptical, and watch as a certain group of people, growing people, that are spending their time just researching, digging in, and finding, like I'm saying, I'm pretty amazed at what you come up with, 22 caliber, letting Sherry Lee come up with a Stratford thing. I mean, that's like making it happen on your own. For me, it was like dropping my lap. My mom says, here's these documents, and there's this huge cover-up, and go check this out, son. Like, all right. But doing hard footwork and researching people and determining who they really are, that requires a bit of time and determination.
Well, Essential Intel, who's friends with the guy who writes for the 21st Century Wire, he coined a term on me I never heard before called limited hangout. And that's this kind of like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and a new way to put the term is, that's kind of a term to get you on a tit when you wake up. Like, they're going to be all like, the elections are rigged and all this other stuff that you might be aware of to kind of cozy up to you, but, they're really not your friend. I think Caliber Hitters always says that, there'll be people waiting for you when you wake up.
There's a tactic, too, they're using right now. Like I say, if you look at Kokesh, and if you look at Christopher Ron Paul and others, they use this. It's not just guys smoke marijuana, so you can trust me. A lot of them just openly are doing all these hard drugs and stuff. I definitely don't condone that, And plus, I see them getting supposedly arrested for smoking dope, or videos of them smoking dope. I'm thinking to myself, number one, you're kind of just not to talk down to people who use cannabis, but you're kind of discrediting the treatment movement. We want sober people in front of the camera that present a certain image of integrity. And again, I'm not talking down on cannabis smokers, but if you're talking on the weed fight while you're trying to explain the conspiracy, it kind of detracts a little bit from people taking it seriously. But they know there's a whole group of people that know cannabis isn't that bad of a thing, and they play into that. They know that they're going to latch onto this guy to say he's going to help us get cannabis legalized. All that means is the guy smokes pot and he maybe wants to legalize cannabis. That's the most you can even drive out of that. You can't trust the guy just because he uses drugs, right?
And there's a lot of people in Baltimore like that where, like, cannabis might not be their thing, but they might use heroin recreationally or pills, and then if you say, well, you want to smoke some pot, they'll be like, sure, but they don't really want to. And that seems like the character you talked about, where pot's not really his thing, but he seemed to enjoy smoking DMT, and he probably, by the way he's sweating and cold sweats all the time, would really be down with doing some heroin.
Well, see, like Hunter Thompson used to be a major drinker. I mean, he's a great writer, but everyone knows his drug use or abuse, whatever you want to call it. In his later years, he works in his kitchen. He's got his bottles of liquor set up all over, and he eats one big-ass breakfast in the morning, and he's all mixing drinks, and it's all drinks. But you don't see that because it's like his stories, his written word come out. That's kind of different. I mean, if you want to sit at home and drink a bottle of liquor, and you can type out a really excellent piece of journalistic work, hey, that's your own business, but it's in front of the camera. And what I saw with Kokesh in that one video where he's hitting his pot pipe and Rudowski's there, and this other guy in the background, I'm thinking to myself, this is intentional. They know they're working this particular group of people who feel this way about marijuana, and that they kind of relate to Kokesh, and it's a confidence trip. It's essentially what it amounts to.
Rudowski seems the only one that seems semi-credible. I wonder if that's because he's so much younger and not aware of what's really going on.
The only thing I've heard about him is, taking donations and spending it on school or something like that.
And somebody probably gave him bad advice. They probably said, well, you can use that money as administration fees to pay for your college, which is not.
Again, if I don't have hard evidence on someone, I can't really go off on
Yeah.
other than to say, point to that, which is kind of a small thing anyway. And then,
Absolutely.
I would say there's a group of people that do these confrontation videos, whether it's Luke Rudowski or Bob Fester. It's no different than the trust me because I smoke cannabis deal. Just because the guy confronts Dick Cheney or confronts, I don't know if that was the guy from New York that came here, the mayor of New York. Giuliani, okay, Bob Susskind confronts Giuliani. It's all over Prison Planet, all over Daylight. The next day, I'm like, wow, he called me that night, Bob Susskind. You want to come up with me? We're going to confront Giuliani. I'm like, I'll get back to you on that. Right?
Yeah.
He called me back, and I'm like, nah, you don't get on.
I don't want to get dragged in prison and stuff like that. You go ahead and knock yourself out.
I'm not confrontational, man. I think it's like information. People are so, there's an epidemic of ignorance right now.
There's a time and a place and a way to do it.
Exactly. And what I got out of that is like, he yells at Giuliani, makes this thing, the video goes up, but the older guy just talked about it here, Harold Saeed, Bob Susskind said that he wasn't happy about it because it just made him look, like he was a jerk yelling at people and causing a scene, and later thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that's how the first herd of people is going to be that, is you're that crazy conspiracy class. The second herd looks at it, the alternative media crowd, I'm like, hey, there's our guy shouting to you, he's our man. But meanwhile, he gatekeeps on Plumegate and all these other big, major things, and that's where the red flag is, and you begin to understand, like, his confidence building by confronting Giuliani. That don't mean squat when the guy's gatekeeping on the world's largest cover-up of conspiracy.
Speaking of digging around, while you were on vacation, I was digging around, and this is just incidentally small, but his dad's house is in Brooklyn, Manhattan. It's worth a little over $500,000. They have a Humvee parked in the driveway, and his dad's first name is Zbigniew. Now, you know how in your family, my family, a lot of families, you're named after, Uncle Hatrick or whatever.
So we're talking about Rudowski here?
Yeah.
He does kind of look like
So if he's related, if they're cousins or whatever, that would give him an this person's going to be here at such and such a time, and then you're going to confront him on these issues. Then the whole thing would be a setup. But also, that whole thing with Glenn and I had talked about with Caliber Hitters before, maybe staging a fake feud because Narc Troll Dice did it with Ajax Loans. And then I guess we just didn't have the right chemistry for it, but they had decided while you were on vacation they would start a fake feud, and then the adjuvant there would be for the Glenn from Hell Wars to try and hook up with Ajax Loans mama and pump them for information, and he's still posted videos on that, but he's posted a few of them over at Nuke Wars, but he was able to troll your channel while you were on vacation, and he took the videos down, troll Caliber Hitters, and then I posted some heel type stuff, and they cozied right up to him.
See, the thing is, again, the lower level agents are semi-competent to some level. I think at the higher levels, people making the big time decisions, the competence level begins to ramp up, and it's like any job. I used to work at Samron to use auto part plates, and that's the way it was in the back. I was a manager, I was very competent, and then it trickled down from there, and the lower level guys, we had to really keep an eye on them and make sure they were performing. So you probably could draw a lot of them out. They're watching us, they know who we are, and they're looking for anything. Like when this Patty B came out with her thing, I'm all of a sudden approached by people I don't know out of the blue saying, what do you know about Patty B? I'm like, they're feeling me out. They want to know what I know about their agents. I'm like, well, I'm going to do a podcast for 2 hours and I'll tell you everything you want to know. And you might not want me to tell everybody that. You might want to just leave me alone.
So just to recap, because I know you like talking about Plumegate, which is not necessarily, when we talk behind the scenes, related to Fukishima. But they posted a bunch of articles this last week, just to recap, on Fukushima. They said there's 3 times the radioactive cesium coming out of Fukushima than for Chernobyl, which it's probably closer to 4 times. And the Russians said the most accurate way to deal with it, because the dead zone for Chernobyl was 20 miles, and I said if you quadruple it, it's 100 miles, and that's not the length of Japan, but Japan's a small island. It's probably like the entire width of it, and the Kremlin said the most effective way to deal with it would just be to nuke it, and that would destroy the shelf, would collapse on itself and kind of cover the whole site with more radiation.
They need to convene some kind. Again, the interests are too corrupt. You couldn't convene a panel from around the world and say, "Hey, let's do what it's going to take to do it, and let's do whatever we got to do." They try to corrupt that, the intent of that, and say, "Look, if you make a large-scale move, make large-scale corrections, a lead entombment, sand entombment, everyone in the world knows how serious it is." My feeling is the response, even though TEPCO is a Japanese company and not necessarily even related to the U.S., to some degree, it's very difficult for them to get TEPCO to take any big steps, even if NRC wanted to press them, and they don't want to, believe me, because TEPCO knows as soon as you go in there and start making all it's out. It's out of the bag, and if you look how bad this thing is, and as soon as that really gets out to people, that's what they fear. So the recovery effort is hampered because they don't want a visible, okay, here's an example. In one of the articles, one of the documents, they're worried about CNN, because I guess CNN is getting some footage of what's going on from time to time. I read this in the article. They say, yeah, we would just watch CNN or whatever. But the Japanese are planning on taking an action that depends, their choice of action, on what it's going to look like on CNN. I mean, I kid you not. They're going to handle one of this major decision to try to rectify this part of the situation, and they're asking themselves, how's this going to look to camera to the world? And they're not asking themselves, is this the right thing to do? Who cares? Everyone's going to know anyway. They're just taking the step that's least indicative, will at least show the world that it's really that bad. That's worrisome for me, because what happens over here when one melts down? You get a cover up, they don't want to take action, cameras all over the place, the radiation, it's an abysmal fascist failure, man.
It's almost like the Gulf spill, where like they're afraid to assume liability. They've caused the damage, and they don't want to spend any money fixing it because they know it's going to be tremendously expensive to fix. So they're looking to pass the football on to somebody else and say, we don't have enough economic resources to recover from this, and we don't have a plan. And then that way the government can come in and send in, troops of people who will die from radiation poisoning to build a sarcophagus around it, which would involve 3 or 4 sarcophaguses, and it would be such a large project, and there'd be people dying left and right. It would be greater than 4 times worse than Chernobyl, because the amount of time they could work on it would probably be 10 minutes before they drop dead from radiation poisoning.
That's an excellent comparison, and yes, in these documents, like I was reading on my broadcast the other day, it was the article I have upcoming, they're talking about helicoptering in pipes and laying them down, and then helicoptering another one, lay down, and keep doing that till you reach the ocean. And the guy says, then you'll have to have some poor people